there we go. Okay, there. So today's recording, I will, again, as I said, I will upload it to YouTube, and then it takes a while because it's usually a long recording, because oftentimes I lecture most of the whole hour. Today I'm not going to, but usually I do. And then I will post it to YouTube, and I do keep it private so that only people in the class can have access to the video. So I will then embed it in a Canvas page, and I will put that Canvas page in our module that it goes with. For example, today's recording, I'll put in the welcome module week 1, and then you can rewatch it or check it out if you couldn't be here today, anytime you want. Some of the recordings are from summer, because I did teach Bio 1 for the 8-week session in the summer, and a few, not many, but there's a few recordings left over from spring that I also may load. So just because sometimes I forget to record. If I have an old recording, I'll just use it. All right, so today what I thought would be good for us to do is just to go through and give you a little idea of what you can find on the Canvas page and sort of how the class is going to be organized and how it's going to work. So let's do this. And then I'm going to share my screen with you. This is my Canvas page, just like most of you guys have. And I'm going to click on the link. People are still in the waiting room, so give me a minute here. Okay. So hopefully you also will have this course in your Canvas page that says Biology 101-111-01 Fall 2020. That's where all of you are located. And here's our homepage. I like to put on the homepage, I put the recent announcements because that's the way I communicate with you. So you'll need to check in on the Canvas announcements, set your notifications so that you get announcements when they come through. This way, it's simpler for me than trying to communicate with all of you via several emails. So anything that's important for the course, any changes that happen, occasionally, like before the first exam, I'll probably put an announcement to remind you. But for the most part, this is how we'll communicate other than in our Zoom meetings and in the office hours. So I think it allows me to put the 3 past announcements, but you can see all of them if you click on announcements. Okay. So here are all the announcements that I've sent you already. Hopefully you've read them. Let's go back to the homepage. And this first module has a lot of housekeeping things in it, right? So I've included a course outline, which tells you pretty much the the whole format of the course, as well as a little bit about what we're going to be doing week by week. This agreement here I put in, it's your first assignment that you have to turn in. See how it has a little rocket on it? I believe that means you need to upload something. So I would like you to practice uploading basically your signature. So you can do it electronically. You can just give me a typed signature, or you can actually sign the page that you've read the course agreement and understand sort of how the course is going to work, and then upload it. Or I think you can actually type in the file box that I put there. So that'll be kind of your first little activity to do. I included as a, in the first module, the library card link and the registration link for information literacy assignment. Please, please, please pay close attention to this right here. The library card link is live all the time. And you can also find it on the college website on the library homepage. You must have an active library card in order to participate and register for the information literacy assignment. One of the librarians, I'll just open this so you guys can see while I'm talking. One of the research librarians has set up all of these days. They're not Zoom meetings, they're GoToMeetings. So you'll have to have the GoToMeeting app. But you can come to any of these sessions at any of these times, and she will go through with you how the information that you need in order to complete that assignment. So I would really, really, really recommend that you look at the schedule here and you pick a day and a time and you put it in your phone to remind you, and you actually attend one of these sessions. Notice the registration link is not for these sessions is not available until September 7th. So please don't do it today. Okay. Today, try to get your library card if you haven't already. My understanding is your library cards need to be renewed every semester. So even if you had a library card from the summer, you'll need to go through the renew process. So if you're a new student, please get a library card. I believe you need a college ID. That's it. And I don't know what the procedure is for that now that we are all virtual. Okay, so let's go back to that first module again. So library card, do it as soon as you can, and realize that I have 85 of you registered for Bio 1, and there are probably 12 or 15 sections of Bio 1, and everyone is going to be doing the information literacy assignment. So be patient. The link might be very busy today, and it may take a few days for you to get back your library card, but just please try to do that as soon as possible and beat the crowd. I put in an introduction to mastering assignment. Notice how the icon here has a little pen attached to it. That means that's an activity for you to actually do and submit. The paper clips mean they're pieces of paper or files that I've uploaded for you. The videos show up as a page with a little corner turned down because they're loaded as a page in Canvas. And then again, here's a homework assignment, and you can see that it looks just like the Introduction to Mastering assignment, has a little pen on there, so it looks like that's something you need to submit. And then the reading assignments, they are just that. They are to help you. I'm actually going to move this one up to here. The reading assignments are to help you stay on track. I expect you to read the book. I expect you to read the book, take your own notes. I expect you to watch the videos that I go through the lecture material. I expect you to obviously do the homework. The homework is much easier if you've read and taken notes, or if you've read the chapter, you've watched our lecture and looked at the notes that I've prepared, or a PowerPoint if there isn't a live lecture that day, and then try the homework. I have given you 2 attempts on the mastering homework and 2 attempts per question in the mastering homework. So if you just think, oh, I'm just going to sit down and see what that's about, you're probably not going to do very well, because you have to already kind of have an idea of what the answers are or where to look them up before you sit down to do the homework. The first 3 or 4 homework assignments are rather large, so plan to spend a good maybe 45 minutes to an hour on those homework assignments. The better prepared you are before you sit down to do the homework, the easier and faster it is. Later assignments, I've broken up just basically for trial and error. During the summer, the students didn't like it, then they complained that the homework assignments were too large and they didn't have enough time to sit down and do them in one chunk. So I started dividing them up into smaller chunks. I think that's going to happen around chapter 5 or chapter 6. And then, of course, the rest of the students complained they didn't like them in small chunks. So they start in large bits, and I probably am going to shorten them so that when you sit down, you can do something relatively quickly, maybe in a half an hour, and you don't have to spend quite so much at one time on the course. This is a lab science course. We are contracted to do 2 hours of lecture and 4 hours of lab per week. So if you've had a chance to take a look at the first day or the orientation course outline that I've given you, right here in the beginning where I talk about your responsibilities, the time commitment is large. Okay, we are, those 6 hours that we meet, at least 2 of those will be lectures for you to watch or to listen to, either live or remotely or after the fact, watching the video. And you need to read the book, which is going to take some of you a short period of time, maybe an hour per chapter. Others it's going to take a longer period of time. You need to take your own notes. You need to organize, and you're going to need to do lab activities, as well as study. And the studying, the amount of time that you personally need to put into study for this class is various. The exams are set up as would be an in-person exam. They are set up for you to actually sit down and take the test. They are not, they're timed, and there are 45 seconds per question. The questions are mostly objective, and you need to prepare and study for the test, or you won't have enough time to take the test. If you have an accommodation that you need time and a half, I need your accommodation letter, preferably in a PDF format. Those should not be in a Word document that can be edited. And if you have an accommodation, I need to receive it prior to the first quiz or exam so that I can set your time for a time and a half. So before we go into all the details about the quizzes, let's backtrack a little bit here. I only mention that because you're going to need to actually spend time studying for the quizzes and the tests. All right, so I've arranged the course in these modules as I think most of your online professors have done. And I've tried to include, in this first one, it's just sort of getting used to doing things. The Introduction to Mastering is a simple assignment. It only counts for 5 or 6 points. My current understanding that I received last night, rather late, is that it was my mistake to tell you to click on my lab in mastering. That's how we did it before we did first day and when we did first day in the summer. And apparently things have changed technologically at the college. And now you are to click on course materials. I'm told, I don't know if this is true yet, because when I click on it, I hit the paywall because I'm technically not a student registered in this class. I'm told that when you click on course materials, you should be redirected to Pearson and you will be asked to verify your registration. And the email that you got from the bookstore that tells you how to do that, I was told it was going to be having you enter your college email. I don't know. I would ask that you try it today because as some of you have contacted me previously that the link didn't work and it wasn't live and it sent you to the paywall. Today's the first day of class and you're supposed to have your materials the first day. So I'm hoping that that means that pathway will be correct and accurate and live today. So either while I continue talking or when we're finished, if a few of you will do that and let me know that you actually get through and you actually get to Pearson, that would be wonderful. Once I am sure that everyone can get to Pearson via course materials, I think I'm going to take away the My Lab and Mastering tab. I'm going to move it out from where you can't see because my understanding is you need to just use one of these pathways, and I think it's course materials. So we may be in for a few days of figuring this out. I'll post an announcement when we're sure, but I'm still working on that today. So don't try to click on this assignment until after you've registered for the class with Pearson. So I'm going to say that again because it's really important. Don't just click on this assignment. Please register through course materials first. And then once that's established, you'll be able to just click on the assignment and it will redirect you to the assignment. If not, you'll get either an error page or you'll hit the paywall. So go through course materials, verify your registration, and then after you're finished with that, back out, come back to your refresh or go back to your course page, come in again, and then click on the Introduction to Mastering. See how that works. So also what I've included is the reading assignments. These are mastering assignments. So again, don't click on this until after you've gotten into the textbook through the course materials. These are chapters from the book. I can customize them, and a few of them I have customized, but most of the time I just ask you to read the whole chapter. They carry 0 points. So why am I bothering to put them up here? I put them up here to help remind you to read the chapter, and after you go in through course materials and go into Pearson and read the first chapter, that is actually recorded and I can see that you've actually read it, right? So that helps me know that you're keeping up and you're participating in the course, as well as when you tell me, oh, I did read the chapter, I can look, and if you didn't read the chapter, I would say, well, that's really material in the chapter. You have to go back and look at those figures. You have to go back and read that section. I have, most of the chapters, I have constructed note outlines for you that are the important points that I'm gonna hit. These will be reflected in the PowerPoints that I've chosen. See if I can go back. So you can see that this one says PPTX, that stands for PowerPoint. And these are the PowerPoints from the textbook. I will be quite honest, they're from the 11th edition, because I worked up most of them fresh in the summer, and now we're in a new edition of the book. So if there's one that's really new and important that I feel like I need to include, I will amend these as we go along. But you'll see that usually they're mostly just the actual photos, figures from the book, and they coincide with the note outline that I just had up. So you can have the note outline in front of you, split your screen and look at the PowerPoints. And then in the case of chapter 1, I'm just going to show you this real briefly. So I usually label the Zoom lectures that are YouTube posts. I usually just label them video, and you'll just be able to click on it, and there's my head, and if you click the play button, and it'll just be me talking about chapter 1 in my kitchen from the summer, right? So if I don't have a particular video from a day, or like I said, I'm going to record all of these anyway and load them. But I probably am not going to load another video of chapter 1 because I already have one. Okay, so that's already up there for you to watch. Okay, and then the homework. And I usually put the homeworks and the activities for you to do either close to the chapter that they're involved with or at the end of the chapter. So if you look at the next module, you can see that I put read chapter 2 first. There's the notes. Here's the video. Looks like there aren't PowerPoints for that one. Here's the homework for chapter 2. Read chapter 3. There's the note outline. There's the video. And sometimes these videos are actually screen shares of Zoom meetings of me going through the PowerPoint. Sometimes they're me drawing on that little chalkboard that I have in my kitchen. Here's the homework. And then here's the part of chapter 4 that I want you to read. As the semester progresses, especially through these first 3 or 4 weeks, it's just going to keep getting more. There's going to be more responsibilities for you. So don't be fooled that, oh, this is nothing the first week, right? Because it's only 3 days, right? It's only really from today until Sunday, 3 or 4 days. As the weeks progress and the material gets more complicated, there will be more things for you to do. So for example, if you look here in this section with cells, you'll start to see that for chapter 7, for example, there are 3 sets of homework. There's 2 videos because it's a much longer chapter. And there's a lab activity for you to do. Now, what I have not yet included is, in the summer, we only had access to virtual labs that we could find ourselves. I did very few of them. I mostly used the skills activities that are embedded in mastering, and most of those are graphing assignments. So they're either make a graph or interpret a graph and then answer these questions. Why are the birds out loud today? Okay, Angelina, thank you. Try the MyLab and Mastering tab and see what happens. I think there's going to be a lot of people on the phone with the bookstore today. All right. Now, we do have, though, this semester, you are to purchase a lab kit, and they're going to be available in mid-September, we've been told, and you're going to need to go to the bookstore physically and contact the list pickup of that lab kit. They will send them to your home, but it's going to take a lot longer, and you can't order them anywhere else because they're custom just for us. There are 7 labs in the kit. I have seen the instructions. I have not seen the kits. They haven't given me a copy of the physical kit. or of the activities, and they are not activities that we normally do in the semester. We use different materials in the semester because in a live in-person class, because we can do more, obviously. So these are specifically designed to be at-home kits. They're designed to be extra safe and a little bit simpler than what we would normally do in lab, but we are going to do those 7 lab exercises. And I haven't put them in the modules yet because I'm still looking at them. Don't really know. I can read the directions, but I can't actually see the components of it. And my intention is to do a short demonstration video for you of each of the labs and then embed that in the module in the week that the lab is due, okay? But again, that's a new component to the class, so please be patient. It's not gonna be perfect. I'm gonna do the best I can, and we'll see how that goes. Some of them are, from what I can tell, are really simple. They'll take you physically maybe 15, 20 minutes. Watch the demonstration video, do the little lab exercise, answer the questions. Others of them are more complicated. So, like I said, hopefully soon I will be permitted to go into campus and actually see one of the kits and run a little demonstration video and save it for you so that we can start doing those as soon as possible. If it sends you to an end, Angeline, if it sends you to an end user license agreement page, I think that means you're in. Keep going. I think you just have to click agree and then you might be in. And if that's the case, then I'm going to remove the course materials button and leave the mastering button. Okay, remember, as we figure this out, my preference is you go in from MyLab and Mastering. I think the connectivity and sharing between Canvas and Pearson is better that way. Course materials is going in through the college system. So I'm leaning toward this. I'm fingers crossed. Hopefully you're just going to click that button. Okay, now I'd like to just drop back to the course outline for a minute. This is usually, what we do the first day in real class as well. So as I mentioned, I can't actually get into my office, but this is where it is if someday we can. I'm going to be holding virtual office hours Mondays and Wednesdays from 9 to 11. Of course, I'm available at other times by appointment. I'm kind of an early morning person, so if we can meet in the morning, that would be great. If not, if that's fine, we'll just schedule a time. These office hours from 9 to 11, I'm just going to leave my Zoom meeting open, and then on some device that I have, you can stay after class, or you can say, can I come back at 9 o'clock? Can I come back at 10:30? I have a few questions. That would be great. I'd be happy to do more than, talk with more than one of you at a time. That's perfectly okay. If you have an issue that you want to just talk to me privately about, we can just schedule a Zoom meeting between the two of us. That's fine. Oh, look, I'm getting more. Okay, I'm still hitting the paywall. All right, MyLab and Mastering worked. I just don't know how to log in with Pearson. Right, so Stanford, if you it looks like you're hitting the paywall, right? So you have to sign in the first time. If you don't have a Pearson account, you have to sign in, give them a username and a password, and then you'll be let in. Please use your college email for your username. That will help a lot, I think, with the connectivity. All right, guys, keep trying. All right, so I'm going to run through this, and then those of you that are still having difficulties, we can talk after I finish this main part of the Zoom. You can call me. It doesn't get redirected to my home phone. It just gets directed to my college phone, and I would have to pick up the voicemail, which I don't do very often. The best way, of course, to get a hold of me is through my college email address, and probably the best way is to send me an email in Canvas. Please be aware there is a delay between the college email system and Canvas. At particularly busy times of day, the emails are only dumped in bulk, and so I might not get it immediately. Hopefully when I'm on between 9 and 11, those emails I will get right away, but there might be a little bit delay. Once you actually get into mastering, and you are going to receive an opt-out email from the college in about 10 days, unless you withdraw from the class, do not opt out. Because if you opt out, then you will lose your mastering subscription and you will be required to pay full price to get your subscription reactivated. Do not opt out. I will remind you many times. The lab kits we've already discussed. I am required to record your attendance, and I realize that if you're not in the meetings, I can't record you, and its attendance in the Zoom meetings is not mandatory. What I mean by recording attendance is I will be required to take a look in Canvas. I believe it's at the 8th week when we are required to report attendance. I will look in there and I can see how many times you've entered Canvas, how many times you've visited pages, how many pages you've visited, how long you've stayed on the pages, and that's what I will use to complete my attendance report. This is required for federal financial aid, and it's required for me to turn it in for all students, not just the students that are using financial aid. All right. Talked about the course description. We've talked about the time commitment. We've talked a little bit about the modules. I'm going to use, each module is going to be a week, 1 week in length. It's going to be from 12 a.m. on Monday, so just after midnight, just really early Monday mornings until 11:59 on Sunday nights. Each module will cover 2 to 3 chapters. Each module will contain reading assignments. I've already said these are not graded. Often there'll be note outlines. There'll either be a PowerPoint and a Zoom meeting, or just a Zoom meeting of a lecture for that chapter. There will be Mastering Biology graded homework assignments. Most modules contain a lab or an activity. Many modules, because I have decided to keep the quizzes short. When we are in person, usually I give 5 exams during the chapter. Since we've moved online, I found that for most students, that's too much material at once. So I'm doing shorter lecture exams. They aren't called exams in Canvas, they're called quizzes, right? For my whole life teaching, for my whole 25 years of teaching, I've always called them exams. So I'm probably gonna call them exams. I'll try to use the word quiz, but to me a quiz means smaller amount, not worth as much. That's not how it's listed in Canvas. So the lecture exam portion, or the quiz section, there are 10 of them. They are going to count towards 70% of your grade. Occasionally, there'll be an item that you'll have to complete and submit to me. That's usually not until we do like genetics problems. No, you should not be asked for an access code. You do have to make an account. Okay. Sorry, don't know. I will continue to work on this again today. We've been working on it since last week, and so far it hasn't worked out. All right, so there are 10 quizzes. Each quiz will be opened on Tuesday at 12 a.m. and it will close at midnight on Tuesday, 11:59 p.m. on Tuesday. So they'll be open for that whole day. The question format is mostly objective questions, true, false, multiple choice, matching. You'll have 45 seconds per question. Only one question at a time will show up. As I mentioned before, I'm expecting you to study and prepare for each quiz as if it was given in the classroom. There isn't enough time for you to look up the answers. Makeup quizzes. If you miss a quiz and do not make arrangements with me prior to the quiz day, you will receive a 0 for that quiz. If you miss a quiz and can provide documentation for your absence, you'll be eligible for a makeup quiz. Those will carry a 10% penalty because you have had more time than everyone else to prepare for the material. If you complete all 10 quizzes at the end of the semester, I will drop your lowest quiz score, but only if you've completed all 10. If you did not take a quiz for whatever reason and you didn't schedule a makeup quiz, that's going to be your drop grade. Quizzes once opened in Canvas can't be reopened. You'll get a new quiz. It's a different one. And that's only if there's a technical problem, and it's at my discretion if I'll allow another attempt. All the quizzes that I give are timed 1 attempt quizzes. Don't cheat. And again, if you have an accommodation letter for time and 1/2 on quizzes, you have to provide it to me before the first quiz. No letter, no accommodation. All right, guys. Thanks for trying. I will continue. Like I said, I'll continue to let you know how to get in. All right, the lab component, experiments, observations, short quizzes, and the information literacy assignment. Your attendance, so I'll get a report of everyone who attended the information literacy sessions. Participation, I guess that just means turning things in. Lab reports and quizzes will be worth 20% of your grade. No makeups. The experimental labs and the custom kit that you purchase at the bookstore, I'm pretty sure are only going to have enough reagents for 1 attempt. That's why I'm hoping to do a short demonstration so that you're prepared and you can just sit down and do the lab. As I said, I still don't have access to a kit for myself, so I don't even know what the reagents are in there. Information literacy, we've discussed that, but I'll repeat it again for those of you who weren't in the meeting yet. In that first module, there is a place to sign up for a GoToMeeting session with the librarian that's going to give you information about how to complete the information literacy assignment. That link is not live until September 7th, but please get your library card. And final lab component will be mastering exercises. I usually label them skills or lab activity. And as I mentioned, most of those involve a graph interpretation, either making a graph or interpreting a graph. Mastering homework is going to be 10% of your grade. It's really helpful. It's essentially extra credit, right? It's to help your grade. And as I mentioned, you have 2 overall attempts for each assignment. You have 2 attempts per question. That means you have to at least think about what choice to make. Most of them are multiple choice questions with 4 or 5 options. So you have, and it does give you a hint after you make your first attempt if you're incorrect. It'll also, I think, redirect you to where to look in the book. Homework's not timed, so take as long as you need. You can redo them for study and practice. You can also use, in mastering, something called dynamic study modules. Students find those very helpful because they are directed. So once you answer a question in the dynamic study module, if you get it incorrect, it sends you to where to read in the book for sure. Homework assignments have a due date, 5% penalty for each day that they are completed after the due date. Reading assignments are not graded and are available the whole semester. Right? You can go in and look at those anytime. This is the Be Nice section, right? Please don't yell or raise your voice at me in the Zoom meetings or at your other classmates. I'm trying to do my very best to treat you all as interested students, college students. Remember, for some of you, this, I realize, is your first lab science class in college. It's a little bit different than some of the other courses. It's a lot more work and a lot more responsibility. Please try to give me as much information in your emails as possible. That's why I put it's not texting. The less information you give, the more time we spend going back and forth. And I want to just remind you, you're not the only person in this class. There's 88 students enrolled in my section of Bio 1, 28 in just your section. And I also am teaching 60 people in microbiology. So I will get back to you as soon as possible. When you send me an email, I usually do not get back over the weekends. So Friday afternoons, usually I don't answer a lot of emails again until late Sunday night, maybe Monday morning. So try to at least get in, and remember everything's due Sunday night at 11:59 anyway. So try to get in and don't save everything to try to do over the weekend. That isn't enough time to, it's better for this course if you do small chunks, a little bit small chunk every day, than try to just cram everything in at the end of the week. Mostly because it's just kind of complicated. Again, don't cheat. Mute your microphones. Most of you are very compliant with that and you're used to doing that now, so it's not as much of a thing as it was in the fall and summer. If you have your video up, I can see you if you raise your hand, or you can ask a question in the chat. I do check them occasionally. Doing the best I can with the equipment I have, just as a reminder. I do have remote access to my college desktop, but I am using all my own personal equipment. So it's not perfect. It doesn't look like super edited, fancy videos like Mr. Anderson puts up or the Amoeba Sisters, because I'm just still doing this in my home. Attendance in the Zoom meetings is not mandatory. Again, you can watch the recording. I do try to check, I did not today, but I do try to check everyone's devices. Please put your name on the device so that when you enter the Zoom meetings that I can see that you're someone that actually belongs to my class. Otherwise, I won't let you out of the waiting room. I don't think, I know you are not going to be entering. Try entering for course ID. No, program ID, no. We've been told I have one, but I'm not supposed to give it to you. And you don't need an access code unless you've been given one by the bookstore specifically. In the email you received from the bookstore, does it give you an access code? Then I would say put that. Today I did not allow everyone to record, but I will usually. I usually do not record the question and answers at the end. I usually stop the meeting, stop the recording, and then just answer the questions. Again, if you have a question that you need to speak to me about privately, we'll schedule a Zoom meeting and have that. And again, small groups are great. We can do that too, and you guys can ask questions anytime. Camden County does not do plus and minus to letter grades. I put that on there. I've had a lot of questions. We were told you were getting an email from the bookstore. So again, we'll see. I'll keep working on that. So again, we do not do pluses and minuses to your grades. It's a straight scale. I would just remind you that in Canvas, if you don't complete an assignment, it just puts in a hyphen. Occasionally throughout the semester, usually once every 3 weeks or so, I go in, and if there's a problem with one of your assignments, or if you've turned it in late, or if a date needs to be reset, I go in and actually put the 0 in. That will change your final average, right? So you keep an eye on those final averages, but be aware if there's anything that has a dash, assignments you haven't completed yet, because I believe it loads my whole grade book, even things that haven't been assigned yet. So anything that has a hyphen or a dash, that hasn't been included in your final average. Use a straight scale for grading. And again, it's a weighted average. So 70% of your grade is based on your exams, 20% on lab, and 10% on your mastering assignments. And then here's that piece that I asked you to sign and submit to me. Again, mostly to practice submitting something. All right, so if we go back to the module, that is the course agreement. And then I think this is just the course agreement just by itself, that little piece. You can actually do it as an assignment. I think that's pretty much everything for the first module. So other than questions that you have about accessing your mastering, so trying very hard, but you have to realize that this is a coordinated effort between two people at the publisher, my textbook rep and a technical person, myself, as well as all of the other faculty that are teaching Bio 1, the bookstore, and the college. So I will continue to work on that today and we will get it solved. Just be patient. Once I know the correct path to send you, I will post it in the announcements. If you are a repeat student, you may have difficulties. That's a separate issue, okay? If you are repeating the course, you still have access to mastering, but to get you into my grade book for mastering, I don't know if that's gonna be a problem. So if you're a repeat student, send me a separate private email. Everybody else, like I said, I'm just gonna keep working on it all day today. Hopefully I will get some answers. And when I get them, I will post it in an announcement to you. And then if people have trouble getting in after that, let me know. Turn off your pop-ups. Don't use a phone when you're trying to register the first time. You have to use a computer in order to actually execute that. So that might help some of you. Yes, so Allison put in the chat, the quizzes in Canvas are similar to actual exams in person. Yes, they are. They are usually approximately, the longer ones are 40 to 50 questions. And like I said, they're about 45 seconds per question, and they are just like questions I would have given you in person. Occasionally, I will have a writing component to a quiz. I usually call those short answers. They'll usually be labeled as part 2 to a quiz. They will be timed, but you will have a longer period of time. So let me explain the details. One I can remember off the top of my head is for the chapters mitosis and meiosis, just like chapter 12 and 13. I have maybe 3 short answer questions where I'm expecting a paragraph answer from material that we've learned in the book, not something that you've just copied out of the book or copied off of a website. It usually is some sort of critical thinking question. Those questions, for example, if I ask you 3 of them, I give you 3 choices, I'll expect you to answer 2 of them, and then you'll have a longer time period. For example, maybe 15 minutes to answer 2 questions, okay? Occasionally, I will tell you what the selection is going to be before the part 2 quiz, part of the quiz, and then you would have to answer those in a quick way, relatively quick typing way. Most of the time, the quizzes are just, no, Wednesday's not going to be a repeat. Wednesdays are going to be a new lecture. So I'm going to hold the lectures sort of and pace the course as I would have if we were in person. So what would be helpful for you most likely is if you get ahead of me, if you read what's going on for the week at the beginning of the week so that you know what's coming. And I would say that if we were in person as well, and of course no one ever does it, but in an online class, especially in an online science class, that's really helpful if you kind of have some idea of what's coming before you just tune in and listen to me talk. So I would suggest reading the material first early in the week so that you know what's coming. And then, like I said, on Mondays, so next week we have listed 3 chapters. Monday I'll lecture chapter 2, Wednesday I'll lecture chapter 3. Chapter 4 is just a single table, and I'll do a screen share with you and show you where that is in your textbook. And then the following week, chapter 5 takes 2 days because it's long. So I'll probably do part of this in person and just refer you to the video for the other, and then we'll start chapter 6 because that's also a long one. Yes, please get the lab kits as soon as you can. Angelina asked in the chat box. You guys can all see the chat, right? The textbook you need comes in Mastering Biology. It's an e-text, and we're still working, Amanda, on how you get your access correctly, okay? If you are a repeat student and you never use Mastering, then it should be fine. Again, once we know the correct pathway between the college and Pearson to, it's supposed to be this wonderful system where all my students who are registered automatically get their access. But the difficulty is Pearson and the college need to verify. The college needs to say, yes, you're a student that paid, and Pearson needs to say, yes, we got your money before that can happen. So the details of that are still being worked out. I'll put up an announcement as soon as I know. But yes, the lab kits, order them now, order the lab kit immediately. You won't be able to pick them up until they actually are delivered to campus. And my understanding is they're going to physically be delivered to campus the second or third week of, say, the second week of September. But you have to put your order in or there won't be one labeled for you, right? Yes, you should be able to order the lab kit on the college bookstore website. There is a physical copy of the book you can purchase someplace else if you'd rather have a physical textbook. You do need the mastering to complete the homeworks, but if you like to have a book, I like to have a book as well. I would say anywhere back to the 10th edition is fine. The 12th edition is the newest edition of the book. So if you're looking for somewhere cheap, like for a rental on Amazon, or if you're going to buy a used one, I'd go back as far as maybe the 10th edition. And then the figures and the notes that I have will be pretty much the same. The note outlines that are in this version fall semester are all for the 11th edition of the book, so just if you care. So there's just one. Amanda, I don't mean what you mean, there's just one. Where are you? Here. One textbook, yes. You need one textbook for this class and the lab kit. You do not need to purchase the lab manual. I know it says required on there. It is not required for my section. I have no control over what goes up on the bookstore for my specific section. At Camden County, that is a departmental decision. And since many of the instructors are actually using the physical lab book, that's why it's a required item, but you do not need it for, I'm not going to ask you to do assignments in it. I don't know. The course agreement assignment, does it have a due date? I think it's due, I don't know if I put a due date on it. Yeah, I think it's just available the whole time right now because people register late. Monte, is it Monte? People register late, so I didn't want to put a due date of it like the end of this week and then have someone register next week and have to change the date. So as soon as you can, please. All right. Anyone else have any other questions? I think I'm going to hit the stop record.